Hello, hello. Good evening. Wait, Good evening, everyone. We thought we'd let you wash in with a wave. That was Lorna's idea. You just wash in with a little wave of gratitude and joy for you joining us today. 690 people and climbing. I'm really sorry that we can't see your faces. 5,000 people signed up for this workshop series, and we can't fit you all in a Zoom meeting, unfortunately. So we do have to do webinar style. But please know that you've got the reactions. Some of you have found those buttons already. That's great at the bottom of your screen. You can type in the chat, or you can ask questions in the Q&A. We can't have you unmute in this situation to ask questions, so please type them. Steph's working hard behind the scenes. She'll collect them, and then we'll pose them at the Q&A at the end, or as many as we can. We'll see how we do for time. So I'm just going to take a second and say goodbye to the ocean. That was a bit abrupt, wasn't it? My goodness. So anyway, thank you so much for joining us this evening. I'm Jade Beryl. I'm the Director of Learning at the Outdoor Learning Store. I'm really deeply grateful to join you tonight from a place in the Instill language called Xa'xtsa. Xa'xtsa is where the ridgelines meet the water in the land, traditional unceded territories, past, present and future of the Xa'xtsa people, the people of the bull trout. And I also have lots of friends from the Xa'xtsa, the Okanagan Silks and the Tanaha, who have names for this place, who've travelled this place, fished, hunted and cared for this place. And the last time that I saw Launa and Sherrelle was in person here at a workshop that I was doing for my own personal development recently. And for me, a land acknowledgement is not just about names, it's about people and relationship to place. And this summer, I was really deeply I was so honoured to join you for the day for one of your Indigenous youth camps, which you were presenting here in this place. And I felt this great sense of connection because the way you went about it, and it was this moment of like realization of connection, of the way that you opened things and the ceremony and the way that things had intentionality was something that I've been trying to do in my own life and my own education practice. And then seeing you do it and being there with it, it felt like I've been doing good stuff in my own work. And like, I felt really strongly that all of this work has meaning and importance and good stuff's coming out of it. So anyway, that's my moment to acknowledge and say thank you. Steph's here too.
Hello, hello. Oh, it's so lovely to see everybody here. I mean, we can see you just in the numbers and what you're writing in the chat. And we know your beautiful faces are behind those things as well. So it's lovely to see you all. If you're new, welcome. If you're coming back, welcome back. My name's Steph. I'm the program manager at Take Me Outside. And I'm calling in from Equates territory on Vancouver Island in British Columbia and what is right now called Canada. And it's been a lovely month of October, Hui Selena in Hokominam, the time when the leaves are falling from the trees. And it has very much been that way recently. There's been a lot of storms and leaves on the ground, and the leaves are changing color in Xa'xtsa, the mountain I can see from my house. And I hope the changing of the seasons is treating you well. Where everyone is coming in from, I see it all in the chat. So thank you for sharing. I'm going to pass it back to Jade.
And yeah, if you would like to, and you know whose traditional territory or land that you're on, you can type that in the chat and share, and we can have a little bit of a waterfall of acknowledgement. And if you want to share some gratitude in there, that's welcome too. If you don't know, you can use native-land.ca as a start. It's a website, it actually covers the entire globe. But lots of information there as a starting point for maybe building relationships with your local Indigenous folks. So thanks for participating and being a part of this. So for us, like Indigenous knowledge is central to anything we do with outdoor learning, which is our greater field and connection to place and land. And I'm just going to share my screen and dive in as we talk about this. And so we are lucky enough today to have Launa and Sherrelle joining us. Today is about connecting children to nature through Indigenous teachings. And we're just about to break the record of the number of live participants at 998. I really hope we can get to 1,000 because that will be the highest record we've ever had live. And what I think, yes, we did it, 1,000. Great. And what this means for me is that this work is working, and that this work for truth and valuing Indigenous perspectives and reconciliation is working. People care, and we're here together, and I could not be happier. Part of this is we're really focused and putting a lot of energy into ensuring Indigenous perspectives are shared. So we have this 4 seasons of Indigenous learning course. It's 10 modules online, and this second season, which is learning with the land, you'll find a beautiful activity from Launa and Sherrelle, which is a guided walk, learning, meditation type activity as part of that learning module. It's a lot about going outside. And then there's 10 live workshops, including with Dr. Robin Mulkimera. And these happen once every month on the last Thursday of the month, and enable you to listen about what truth and reconciliation means to each of these people, and I'll ask questions there too. So we're doing that. We're also committed to uplifting Indigenous voices through professional development for educators this Friday in 3 days time, with the classrooms communities connecting to land through Indigenous learning, which is 3 beautiful Indigenous led workshops through the day for you as well. That's virtual, so anyone can join. Obviously, other voices, and we've got some amazing work from Jason Rodenberg, which is a 2-month nature activities for learner course, which is like 4 online workshops coming up in the winter. In the spring, we've got Rachel Tidd talking about wild learning, which is basically maths and literacy curriculum outside. And we've got tomorrow. It is Take Me Outside week, but tomorrow is Take Me Outside day. If Steph wants to share a little bit about that for a sec.
Yeah, definitely. And sorry, just keeping up with the chat here. So tomorrow is Take Me Outside Day, the official day that we head outside and celebrate outdoor learning in whatever way that looks like for you. And we've already had an amazing 3 presentations, Monday and Tuesday, and we have a celebration with Remy Rodden tomorrow. We have our health and well-being theme on Thursday. It's going to be lots of fun. There's tons of prizes to give away. It's all free. Anyone can join, families, homeschooling groups, of course, public school classrooms, and private school, anything like that. You're all welcome to join. It's a huge celebration. We're making nature art tomorrow. We're going to make a massive collaborative digital mosaic out of all that nature art you send in. So let's get outdoor learning trending if you're on social media, and most of it all just outside. So I put the link in the chat, and hope to see everyone there digitally.
Amazing. Thank you. Sorry. Yeah, takemeoutside.ca. You can find it, everything there, /TMO day if you want to go direct. So grateful for all of the hard work you put into making that so special, Steph. We've got a bunch of partners. This is what makes this possible. It takes a huge community of people to do this work well, and different people have different specializations. But if you go to our website, then if you need resources, tools, support, then you can find, we hope, what you need there. We've got international partners. If you're in the US, we have these NAAE affiliate partners and more growing. I have to keep updating the PowerPoint every week. We have, finishing up the US there, we've got some fantastic Canadian partners as well. And so we hope that we've created a bit of a one-stop shop for you to come and get information. But just before we talk about the fact that Launa's written this phenomenal book, and that Launa and Sherrelle live, breathe and demonstrate these amazing activities in the work that they do, I just wanted, we have a little poll. I just want to see who's here because, firstly, thank you for sharing if you shared your acknowledgement. For us here, we're really interested in breaking it down because most of us are in North America, but sometimes we have people from Mexico, and you're only allowed 10 options, everyone. I'm really sorry. So if you're elsewhere on this beautiful planet, you can just type it in the chat where you're joining from. But I'm 1,054 people. This is incredible. Okay, it's just going to run for like 5 more seconds. That won't let everyone get in there, but I'm just going to do it. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I'm going to end the poll. I'm going to share the results. Okay, so Mexico, it never comes up. I'm just really desperate for that to happen. Maybe we should just put Central South America. I don't know. Lots of people joining from all across what has been shared with me. We can call Turtle Island rather than North America. Okay, I'm going to stop sharing. Second question is, who are you? And this one for us is really interesting because, you know, for us, educator is a really broad term, because anytime we're communicating anything, we're educating someone. And so whether you're a formal educator, and if you scroll down, there's lots of opportunities to talk, whether you're a support or a special needs worker, or an informal educator, which is where I started out. Okay, I'm just going to give you 5 more seconds. 4, 3, 2, 1. I'm going to end that poll and share the results. Oh my goodness. So look here, look, every single box is ticked. Every kind of educator we can imagine, all the grades at schools, informal, community educating, people homeschooling or family educating. Incredible. The diversity of people joining is spectacular, and we are very glad you're here. All right, it's time to get to the good bit. Here we go. I'm going to introduce the fantastic Launa Purcell and Sherrelle Anderson from Rise Up Indigenous Wellness to share with us about connecting children to nature through Indigenous teachings. So Launa is a member of the Xa'xtsa First Nation and a mother of 2. Launa works as an Indigenous educator and teaches Indigenous outdoor camps, and I've been both adult and kids, and it's just been such a beautiful learning experience. Same with Sherrelle. Sherrelle's a member of the Saddle Lake Cree Nation and co-director of Rise Up Indigenous Wellness, which is this amazing non-profit organisation that you run together. Sherrelle's a social worker with a focus on Indigenous wellness and healing, which equates to using the land as medicine. Sherrelle facilitates programs and workshops with Indigenous youth, centering on land and emotional connections, and the proud mother of 3 school-age children. The activities inside Heartbeat of the Earth instill traditional teachings of respect, honour, resourcefulness, and humility in kids. And this handbook is intended to inspire parents, caregivers, educators to provide children with meaningful outdoor experiences, interwoven with traditional Indigenous knowledge. And with that, I'll stop sharing and I'll pass it over to you. I'm going to get your slideshow in the back here. But thank you so much for being here, Xa'xtsa, and it's really a pleasure.
Oh, Xa'xtsa, Jade, and Steph, and thank you we're so happy to be a part of this and to be able to share some of the work that we're doing.
Yeah, we're coming to you from Secwepemc land, where we are based out of Salmon Arm. Rise Up is, and we do workshops and programming throughout this general area.
Yeah, so maybe we can, we just wanted everyone to see us, to say hello first, and then maybe we can jump into our slide, Jade, if that's all right. So Heartbeat of the Earth, that's the book, and as Jade said, it's focused on incorporating Indigenous teachings into outdoor learning. So a very natural fit that our traditional teachings and connecting children and youth to the land go together, go hand in hand. Next slide.
So honoring the territory. When we're working with our little friends, it's nice to find that connection. Like, how do they connect to the earth? And it's like simple questions you can ask them. Where do you play hockey? Where's your favorite place to go with your family on any given day? Like, just their connection to the land. And this is acknowledging the land. I think Jade and Steph did a beautiful job. It's about reflection and finding your connection to the land and thanking the first people for whose land they're on. And it shows respect. And it's good to start teaching young so that all children know that we need to respect this land.
You always give a beautiful example how when Sherrelle and I both were in elementary school, you never heard acknowledgement of the territory you were in, or an understanding of what the traditional land that we stood upon was. So it's more than just like rote memory. It's that important. What's the history of this land that we're on?
Yeah, and it's nice so it doesn't become compulsory. Like, this is the land we're on. It's like find that deep connection to the land. And then when, like, for assemblies, it's the land acknowledgement doesn't always fall on the Indigenous person in the room or in the Indigenous people. A land acknowledgement can be done by anybody there. It's the welcoming that Indigenous people do. The local Indigenous people, they can do the song or the prayer to welcome everybody because it is their land.
Yeah, so what welcome is what someone local does. Honoring the territory is anybody in the room, anybody there. Yes. So next slide, Jay. Okay, so where to start? So I see, like, from the mix of people that it's a lot of outdoor educators and informal educators. So we always think, like, when we talk about Indigenous learnings and on the land, we use what's there often. So many of our activities don't require a lot of equipment or extra things. It's like connecting to where you're at. Some of the basic things that we always like to have on hand for our Indigenous camps and treks are a few good outdoor blankets. The ones that are kind of waterproof on one side is very handy, and often just like some twine, some rope for some of the games we do, rather than trying to recreate. And like just the basics. Sometimes we'll bring some like magnifying glasses or paper and pencils for silent study, but the majority of what we use are just what's available on the land. The drum and is something that we incorporate often. And that's something where we say, go, if you're wanting to add a drum to your practice, go local and to either purchase or do a drum making workshop, and also to learn the protocols, the ways in your territory of how to care for the drum.
So sometimes it can be, we've had educators be like, oh, we don't know where to start, like, and invite First Nations people into your assemblies or into the classroom just to start building the relationship. And we always give the advice to reach to the local Indigenous people first before expanding outwards.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, it's most important to engage on the land you're on, and this book and our activities are meant to be an extension of that, to add on to some of the teachings that are somewhat universal ideas around connecting to the land, but more specific ceremonies would be specific to where you're at. So also in terms of engaging, because sometimes we hear that people say, oh, I want to connect with the local Indigenous community, but we don't have connections, or we're finding it challenging how to connect in some areas. And so we often say attend any events. If there's any Indigenous events going on in your area, make an effort to get out to them and attend what's happening. That's a good way to build relationships and to connect to the land and the place you're at. And we have it on there, listen. And really that means just take the time to listen closely to the elders at those events, listen to the community on what's important to them and what they're valuing. And that's that place, that relationship building place.
And just to add in, like, meet our communities where they're at, not where you would like them to be. And also just like a cultural protocol is to honor the facilitators coming in, we always give a gift, whether it's just a jar of jam or something, just to show your appreciation, because gift giving is part of Indigenous culture.
Yeah, so even if there's an honorarium, we still make the point to give a gift, because that's how we show that respect and pass that along. So yeah, so you've jumped in and started. So moving on next to the idea of land as medicine. Land is medicine. So the next screen. So that's something we often talk about, because we think about the way that we heal our culture and the way that we work at reconciliation is through the land we're on, the ways that we take care of and ensure that we're caring for the land the land cares for us. It becomes medicine back to us. So we try very hard to link those teachings into the activities that we do. So remembering to be respectful and honoring that these teachings will vary from nation to nation, but that that the children that you're caring for will see, and they'll see and learn what they've been taught to see and learn. So if they're shown this example of we care for the land carefully and we show respect while we're caring for it, that's the teaching that they're going to absorb from that.
And just another point to add on, if there's local storytellers, and bringing those storytellers in and finding the connection to that land with them using the traditional language, and then it can be like light bulb moments for some of the children, like, wow, we're standing on this land where coyote did something crazy.
Yeah, where the coyote rock is. Yeah, all of those like local landmarks, and bringing that together with the stories and the land connections makes for huge connections. Yeah, so ceremony, and so the next slide, Jade, is the power of ceremony. And I think sometimes the word ceremony can be off-putting or scary to some people. And yet ceremony is something we do in everyday life, in the way that we have a repetition of things, or in the way that the little things that we do to be grateful and thankful. So that ceremony in our cultures, in our combined cultures, ceremony was important. It was what grounded us and connected us with others. And so connecting children to the land, ceremony has a powerful place too, and an important place. So something as simple as giving thanks to the land. And sometimes that means just caring for it. If you're doing a little small cleanup of an area, or we've been involved in beach cleanups here, like any of the things that show we're caring for this land directly through our actions. And then there is the ceremony of every day as outdoor educators. So repeat, when you visit the same location, often if you're at a school, you're walking to somewhere for your outdoor learning, you're going to be going to the same place. So that repetition of visiting the same location provides so many opportunities to view that land as it's changing throughout the seasons. So we talk about doing photos throughout the different seasons so that there's a comparative piece. Having a touchstone, so either a tree that each of the children adopt and touch as their own each time you visit, or a stone, and just gathering and showing gratitude for that place each time.
And it's as simple as like thanking and greeting it. So if you're walking past the creek, hello creek, or goodbye creek. So each time the children can get used to treating that creek as a living specimen, a living being.
Mm-hmm. Even our forest walks, we always stop just before we exit the forest and turn around and give a silent wave and think of one thing that we're grateful for. So it's just modeling that gratitude for nature. It's another opportunity when we think about ceremony is harvesting and following local traditions around gathering anything, even if it's leaves for an art project or a mosaic or anything that's coming from the earth, just doing the reciprocal ceremony. So in Indigenous culture, we say we give to receive. So we give first. So it might be giving thanks through a drum song or through words of thanks. It might be leaving an offering. Some nations, we leave tobacco as an offering before we gather. So whether it's by words or actions, or giving thanks through cleaning up the area around, just remembering that's one of the teachings too, is that reciprocal nature of giving to receive back from nature. So next screen, please. Okay, so a lot of the activities that we do with young people are to engage their senses. And we think about that, connecting that to a traditional way of being. Our people were known to be able to be still in nature, to be silent enough to hear what was happening around, and to be able to be sensory aware for survival. So lots of games and activities for children were linked to engaging your senses. So so one of the things we say is you take one sense away and the other is stronger. So we have a number of games. We're going to just sort of share a little bit with you. But before we do that, usually we'll connect the children and to their breath so that we're all sort of calm and ready to engage our senses. So if you're sitting right now, just kind of get yourself sitting comfortably and put your feet down on the floor. Take a big breath in through your nose. Let it out. Next inhale, you're going to inhale for 4 beats through your nose. Hold and exhale for 4 through your mouth. And inhale. And exhale. One last extra slow inhale. And exhale.
And just to add to that, the 4 is intentional, because 4 is a sacred number in Indigenous culture, because it's the 4 quadrants of your health according to the medicine wheel, 4 seasons, 4 stages of life. So in when we do drum breathing, we always incorporate the number 4.
4 direction.
4 direction. We could go on for a little while.
Yeah. So we have a lot of different games, and they're in the book too around sensory engagement. One of them is called Stalk the Drum. So in this game, Sherrelle's going to kind of demonstrate for you. I wonder if we can make the screen big for this, Jade, so they can see us better. Is this middle bit? Is other people see that? That's us. Okay. Yeah. So so in Stalk the Drum, one other thing that we often use for sensory activities is if the children are willing, a blindfold. And because if you're working with young kids, you don't want to be tying the back to everyone. So we just buy old leggings, like tights, and then cut them off and knot them because they're stretchy. They can just easily pulled over and easy to wash. So Sherrelle's going to be one of our students.
Okay.
And so then in Stalk the Drum, it's a little bit about body awareness. So knowing if you're moving, like if somebody's getting close to you, and sometimes we preface it with like, can you feel my hand close to you at all? A little bit of heat. Yeah. So like noticing if somebody's body's near, then we work up to, okay, we're going to move our body. You're not going to do this, but you can point. Yeah. So you can start with a sitting version where the person is going to point towards where they hear the drum beat. Good work, Sherrelle. Nailed them all. So then you would go on from there with a bigger group of moving around carefully, and the students are blindfolded and they're moving towards the drum beat. So it's just sensory engagement and talking about like how important that was to have your senses engaged historically, and just to have that awareness, body awareness too.
Yeah, like be able to kind of show boundaries, like the kids can physically feel where their boundary bubble is if somebody is nearing them and they're uncomfortable.
Yeah, so then another sensory activity that we often do is called Firekeeper. So this one's very simple because usually you can find some sticks around where you're at. So if you're worried that where you're going is going to have no sticks at all, then maybe you bring a few in your backpack. But so you grab some sticks, and usually our free conversation around this one is the importance of fire and how fires were started traditionally, whether you had flint or the bow style of starting the fire. And then having a fire, why was that important to your community for cooking and for staying warm? And if you had to move camp, like moving a little ember in a bit of a burrow. So all of those preface things to the activity. Then in Firekeeper, all the sticks are placed in the middle. And then you have a person who is the Firekeeper. Once again,
I'm back.
She's back as Firekeeper. So Firekeeper is blindfolded and the sticks are in front of them. Now, Fire Thief, which is the other people in the circle who will take turns trying to fox walk or walk gently up, will be trying to steal the fire. If somebody hears me coming up, she's got me, I'm back in the circle. But if I creep up and pick up a stick and then she hears me just as I'm picking it up, it's still my stick. I've got that bit of fire. Or if you take it and the Firekeeper doesn't hear at all, also the stick of it. So it's just a very simple game, but it works on a few different things. Walking gently, it's very like a good way to kind of bring down the energy if it's a bit hectic or you've had a really up activity before, and a good chance to work on, like we'll talk about deer ears or rabbit ears, how they can catch the sound, and how if they were like face this way, the sound would be coming from behind and you wouldn't hear what's in front of you. So there's lots of little teachable moments within that game. So that's Firekeeper. Do you want to explain Old Eagle Eye?
So this is a nice game to do, or an activity, is you can get different colored ribbons and you place them somewhere in nature, like the kids are usually in a group of 2, and then they see how far back they can go before they don't see the ribbons anymore. And the point for this game is that lots of children, because they're spending too much time on screens now, their eyes aren't developing how they used to, so they're not seeing the deep colors that we have in nature. So this is a way to wake up the sight as well. And when we do it, they've had fun seeing how far back they can get without seeing it. And we just did this activity, and yellow was difficult this time of year.
So it's a good way to talk about changing seasons. And we usually preface it with like, why was it important to have some long distance vision when you were hunting or for your safety, all of those other pieces that being in nature and being safe all connect to. So so those are just a few examples of some of the sensory activities we have in there. Then we think about moving to mindfulness and gratitude. So maybe Jade, can you bring us back to the mindfulness screen, the next screen? Sensory, next one, there we go. So we try to incorporate mindfulness into all of the outdoor camps and the work that we do with connecting children to nature. Often we'll use a nature meditation and we'll incorporate the drum with that. Maybe we'll just do a short one here. So if you're sitting, get yourself comfortable. I like to say, like, if you can, put your feet on the ground so that you're connected to the ground beneath you.
I'm sorry, Launa, can I interrupt and just ask that the drum isn't coming through loud, or we can't really hear it. So could you give her a bit?
Oh, sure. Okay.
Thank you.
So shrug your shoulders up and roll them down. And maybe one more like that again, and down. Another big breath in through your nose, out through your mouth. Close your eyes if you want to just sit back and listen. And we're going to listen to the heartbeat of the drum for a moment. Take a moment to picture yourself walking through a forest. It might be a forest that you know. It might be one you haven't been to before. Imagine the trees around you and you've just been invited into it. You see the green pulling you in. You walk through, you enter. The ground is soft beneath your feet. The trees' branches are brushing against you and you're drawn to go deeper into the forest. As you get in a little deeper, you notice the smells around you. The ground smells damp and earthy beneath your feet. The trees around you have that rich smell. There's a smell of damp in the air, and you're drawn a little further into the forest. Now you see a large old cedar tree in front of you. Its bark is wrinkled and rough, and your hands are drawn to it. You come up, run your hand up and down that wrinkled, bumpy, rough bark and feel it. And as you're feeling the bark, you hear some running water in the distance. You come upon a little creek. It's babbling, bubbling, all the water is flowing down. It's clear and clean, and suddenly you're so thirsty, you reach down, cup some of that clear, clean water, and let a drink of it run down your throat. And at that moment, you're feeling relaxed, satisfied, in your place in nature. Take another breath in and out. One more deep breath in, let it out, and come back to us.
So the nature meditations is just a nice visual too to be able to do with students. And moving forward, we also do mindful walks, which can be similar to, it's just engaging the children's sight, their hearing, what they're feeling as we're walking. And when you begin, you're like, we're going to begin our walk, and at the end you say we're ending it. And especially with the little ones, it's like it could be a minute of just trying for a minute for them to be silent in nature as you're walking. Like there's no protocol to be like, okay, we're going to do this for 5 minutes. Like even 30 seconds is probably amazing with little ones.
Just building their stamina. And one little trick we do, and I think we have it in the book, is getting those paint chips from a paint store, like the strips of color in different shades of green and brown. And then the students can be looking for their shade of green or brown. So it gives them something else to engage in while we're trying to encourage them to be silently walking through nature. And so, yeah, and then another mindfulness activity that we include are story walks. So a story walk, we try to use local stories and break the story into clumps. So like some of the main events throughout the story, and then find things to symbolize those parts of the story. So we go out, not to a too huge an area, but we go out, lay out the little clues along the story walk, and bring the students and sort of front load it a little bit. We're going to be taking a walk. We're going to be learning a story. The coyote's going to be in the story. What do we know about coyote? And then we walk through along the different little reminders of the story. So in terms of being the educator of that, you have to sort of learn the story orally. So that can be a bit of a challenge, but if you choose a shorter story, it's easy with the clues along the way. And then a follow-up activity is for children to see what they remember and repeat it back and work through the story that way.
And just going to the protocol of oral stories, sometimes elders may give you personal permission to use their stories, and that's fine. Or else there's books too that if they've been published by nations, we take that as in you can use those stories if they're public knowledge.
Yeah. So yeah,
but it's permission first.
Yeah, and it's a great opportunity if there are local storytellers to come in and share some stories too. Yeah. So then, moving on to the next screen, Jade, gratitude in nature. Oh, it's not a screen. No. So we just like to remember that once we have the opportunity to be on the land at camps or with classes or with groups, that we model that gratitude in nature. And sometimes it's through activities, sometimes through words. I like these words. They're published in my book too, of Chief Dan George. And it's, I thank thee. O earth, for the strength in my heart, I thank thee. O cloud, for the blood in my body, I thank thee. O fire, for the shine in my eyes, I thank thee. O sun, for the life you gave to me, I thank thee. So yeah, so we're really happy to have this opportunity to share a few of the activities out of Heartbeat of the Earth, and a bit of some of the work that we're doing. And maybe we could flow into a few questions.
That was so lovely. And I knew when you came in and it was all set up that there was space for things to happen. I think that's one of the most beautifully demonstrated workshops we've ever had, that was the most sort of inclusive for people to see. So thank you so much. Okay, there's lots of questions. But what we're going to do is we'll do about 10 minutes of questions, and then we're going to honour everyone's time, and we'll do prize giving at the end. So stay right to the end. But thank you. Okay, there's several different people in different ways and forms talking about, can I drum if I'm non-Indigenous? Is it okay if I use a drum that's not like an Indigenous drum? One person shared that where they're from, in their local First Nations, that women don't drum, only men. And so, you know, can that person drum in a space and it still be authentic? So I think there's just this feeling of like, of people not sure how to go about it. So could you share with that?
Sure, maybe we both can.
Yeah. I guess I'll just start, like, as we've said, like, in terms of like, can women drum, it would be like, I would go to your First Nations community and ask them, because that would be the protocol. It's their land. They have that respect and their reasoning for that.
Like a protocol in my nation is women on their moon time don't drum, and not because it's seen as dirty or unclean, it's because you're more powerful then. So there are protocols around women and drumming that aren't the same for men. But then also in terms of like having a drum and using a drum, we in the school district that we're in, we had workshops with allies and with teachers who wanted to incorporate more Indigenous education. And we made drums with them. And then we brought in local elders to talk about the local protocols. And each person who had a drum had to know how to care for that drum and what the protocol was. So I know that can't always happen everywhere, but I feel like that's an ideal situation, because then it's the local knowledge, and the drums that are made are honoring that local way of doing things.
Like, you've learned it in a respectful manner, rather than buying it like off Amazon or something.
Yeah,
like
and then I guess, and in terms of having a drum that's not an Indigenous drum, like if you have any kind of budget to buy a local drum, like I would really encourage that as an opportunity, because there's so much more to our drum teachings. Like, it's animal hide, and it's wood, and it's that coming together of the plant people and animal people and people. So there's a lot of teachings around it where it is important to have something that's authentic.
Beautiful.
Yeah, so I think we hit those key points.
Yes, I think so. And again, I think this is it. There's quite a few questions of like, how do I not appropriate? How do I appreciate? And it just, what I'm hearing from you personally is just ask questions, reach out and say, is this, I'd really have this idea, and is this okay? And, can you support me?
Because we do understand as Indigenous people too, it's scary for people want to be allies and want to support, and that's part of reconciliation, is that working together and towards a shared vision and shared knowledge.
And we've had it like Indigenous beaters are like, of course, if you're not Indigenous, you can use our stuff because you're not appropriating it, you're actually appreciating it because you're purchasing from an Indigenous artist.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, even a step further, plant medicine, like using what Earth gave as a medicine, like the cedar tree or other things like that medicine, like in our viewpoint, if you're using it in a ceremony, you should learn the local way of using something. But in terms of plant medicine, we would say like Creator put all these medicines for all the people on Earth.
Such a beautiful unifying feeling of connecting, and I think that's something that I'm learning from you, is that it's about us, it's about all of us coming together, and there's just some really beautiful knowledge, and let's, you know, it's challenging because it's really important to focus on these wonderful things and these beautiful things and knowledge. But the truth is that settler colonial people tried to destroy this knowledge. Getting quite a lot of questions about, there are still some people that are encountering like pushback about like embedding or wanting to share Indigenous perspectives. Maybe within a school system, it might be that it's the like Indigenous Ed department saying like, no, not without us doing that with you, or maybe it's other non-Indigenous people having fear. And I think from my work with you and other mentors, that it's really about like intention, and it's about, if we don't just recognize that there's so much power and knowledge that we would, you know, that we try to suppress it, it's just so powerful, it's just so important, that needs to be shared. And so I wondered, for some of these people who are like feeling that they're frightened and that they fear about engaging here, I wondered what your advice would be to them.
Yeah, I can. So I think it's reconciliation. It's like, it might feel uncomfortable, but if you are approaching your Indigenous educators, more likely than not, they're so happy to share the knowledge, and it being shared in a respectful way and in a collaborative way. So
and there's that one line, like if it's not uncomfortable, it's not reconciliation, like having to go beyond your comfort zone. And I think like rather than Googling something like how was this done in the area, getting it from the source. And yeah, and like understanding, yeah, sometimes there may be some pushback from some people, and like our people have been oppressed and colonized, and there is some holding on to of knowledge that is an outcome of this, and like some of our knowledge is sacred and is only for Indigenous communities.
Yeah, and can't just be given freely. You have to do the work to receive that knowledge.
But keep, like, for advice, like keep reaching out. Like we said at the start, attend community gatherings and anything going on Indigenous. That's a great way to build relationships. We've built people that have come out to events or things that we've had going on. We build such strong relationships with them, and it grows good things.
That's a beautiful answer, thank you. And when you're talking about sacred things and stories, we've got lots of people asking about stories and about like the provenance of stories, about story sharing. So like I know from my own things, like I've been gifted like a story that about chipmunk and garter snake that was gifted to me by Chief Mike Artsy, from the Canning Lake Shuswap band. And that is a story that was specifically gifted to me to share with students. But I've been in lots of spaces where the stories that have been told have been just for that moment. And what I think we're talking about in this one is like published stories, right? And if a book has been written, would you say that was then for people to share?
So like I think like if you look historically, like when you look at in some libraries, there's old books of Indigenous stories where they maybe either didn't have permission or didn't how would you put it? they interpreted. There was more interpretation than actual translation of the story. I feel like a lot of those have been culled out of libraries. And so there have been in the past published Indigenous stories where the territories weren't honored or the stories were incorrectly translated. Moving to now, like there's a huge push in the publishing industry for things to be authentic. And a story wouldn't be published and shared if it was one that was a sacred story that wasn't to be shared. So if it's a modern published Indigenous story, then the intention of that nation and people is for that story to be reshared, read and shared. So that, and then in terms of oral stories and oral traditions, if you've just heard a story at a gathering and you haven't got permission to reshare it, then you haven't got permission to reshare it. But if somebody has given you permission, then that's your story to teach and to share. It's a protocol.
That's beautiful. Thank you. And lots of people are saying, yeah, look, the internet is quite easy now to research whether the author is actually Indigenous. If someone's writing about Indigenous culture or anything, just check whether they are. But like for us, like with Launa and Sherrelle and like the work you do, like these books, they come through us. We have a whole team of Indigenous advisors who verify resources that come to us. And also we work with Strong Nations, and they're an Indigenous owned and operated publishing house. So they do their own verifications of different people from First Nations and Native American groups from across all over. And so, yes, just there, it is possible. And there are beautiful books and beautiful stories that speak so much. You know, we just had the full moon and just the stories related to the moon. I've got 3 different stories from like around me that are just so beautiful and so expressive and so real into understanding this time of year. They're so valuable. So please, like for me as a non-Indigenous educator, like please don't be afraid to share those stories, because they're beautiful and they should be shared. If they're published, they should.
And a way to deepen learning and understanding. Our culture is embedded in our stories. It's an oral tradition. So any of those stories tell those things that are important to our people.
And those stories open up like the Indigenous ways of knowing, like a different way of seeing the moon.
Alyssa's asking, is it okay to put the stories in your own words? And I would say, for me personally, I would not do that. If a story was published, then I would speak it as it was given to me.
That's a difficult question, honestly, because I think you have 2 camps on that. Like on the one hand, if you're retelling a published story, like say the story walk, and you're wanting to model oral tradition, like we have children retell the stories back to us. So I mean, they're Indigenous children, but like non-Indigenous sometimes too. Yeah. So I don't know how to answer that one, honestly, because part of me thinks like, oh yes, that's the way the story should be read. But we also want to encourage that oral tradition, because children are such passive listeners now. Like it's a passive intake of knowledge. So to be connected with it, that oral tradition really helps that piece.
I guess I just kind of question it back. If you're changing it, then it's not an Indigenous story. Your own words, right?
Could you read 2 stories that give a slightly different perspective, and then, you know, have the kids talk about what was the same or what was different, you know, like maybe creatively not have to change it, but offer different options for people to engage with?
I mean, like some of our stories are similar to existing other stories in different cultures. Like I think like Cinderella type stories and like, you know, like creation stories. Yeah. There's some that where you could do a comparable for sure.
And yes, no stories told exactly the same way orally. Yeah, it does definitely change. That's a really good point. But I think what you hear is like there's so many different layers to this work, and there's so many different things. But the fact that you're here, open-hearted, open-eared to the people joining us, listening. I'm on that journey. I wasn't born here. I came here as a settler, a very recent settler, but I'm very passionate about Indigenous knowledge, because I think it's like the most valuable knowledge system we have. It comes from a scientist who had to like break apart all my worldviews and re-scramble them. But I think just the fact we're here asking questions, paying attention, that's the key. That's the first step, right? And so the more work you go in, the more relationship building you do, there's more opportunity for you to ask these questions with people that might be local.
Absolutely. We're so grateful that we've had this chance to come and share too.
I think I'm going to leave it there because there are 1,000 questions. But
a few.
Yeah, and that's it. I'm really hoping Launa and Sherrelle came, I don't know, we keep finding each other in the world, and I am very eager for any other opportunity to learn from with you. So I'm hoping this won't be the last. So, you know, stay tuned, everyone. I really hope we'll get to do some really more deep dive stuff in the future. But thank you so much. Your words, the book is beautiful. This was just a small part of it. If you do want, of course, in your follow-up email, there is a discount code so you can access the book. And we really are grateful for all your thoughtful questions and for being in this space and being willing to talk about this, because it's really important for the future of outdoor and land-based learning. Thank you so much for joining us. Before we go, there is going to be a short typing quiz, but you can sign off if you like, because it really is just people sort of going mad typing in the chat. So please feel free. So please feel free to good job. Thank you so much. It's always an absolute joy to see you.
Okay, bye now.
Bye.
Goodbye. Okay, everyone. Thank you so much for participating. And I do understand that in the questions and in the opinions, like, this is a complex issue and there's lots of different opinions. And that's really the key thing here, is that this is not just a one broad paintbrush. And actually, when you read the book, there's a whole part at the beginning that's really dedicated to understanding and repeating that idea that there's no pan-Indigenous worldview. So dive in. Access our resources. We have Indigenous resources, access more training, and we're really grateful to be on this learning journey with you. Okay, so it really helps if you open up outdoorlearningstore.com's website and take the outside.ca's website. And I understand that this is maybe not the most accessible for some people. So here's what we're going to do: is we're going to do one typing question and one random selection, because some people said that maybe it was a bit hard for them typing to get in there. So that's what we're going to do. And it looks like this. The first two gift cards are for the Outdoor Learning Store. It's a $25 gift card, which would get you a copy of Heartbeat of the Earth, or part of it, part way to it. And you can tell me whether, and Steph, you can email in the in a private message, just click on Steph's name, whether you want it in Canadian or US dollars. And so it goes like this.
You might have to set your chat to hosts and panelists. Sometimes people have trouble finding my name in it. Either way, just say.
Okay. Yeah, that little blue box at the top of your chat box. Yeah, hosts and panelists. That can be
that's fine too.
Good. Well, Aliot, bye, Linda. That's beautiful. Mick Moore, thanks. Okay. Question 1. What are the 5 outdoor learning themes that the Outdoor Learning Store offer resources on? Type them all in one box for me. There are 5 outdoor learning themes. First correct answer to type it in the chat. All 5 in one box. Get it?
Oh, I think we got it right away. My goodness. And sometimes people are typing just to hosts and panelists, so you might not see the first answer that comes up. But Cameron Quinn, you were the first on it with curriculum connections, getting outdoors, Indigenous learning, nature and ecosystems, and sustainability and climate change. You got it, Cameron Quinn, sorry.
There was actually Christiana St. Pierre above that as well. So we're going to give you a $25 gift card too. So you jump in and send your email as well. I'm sorry, with, there's an enormous number of people. Okay, the random winner of a $25 gift card, I'm scrolling all the way up and down and up and down, is Rachel Musklow. Rachel Musklow, if you're still here, send us a little message in the chat box.
Perfect, thank you. And folks, we are recording we will send you the recording. Just answer that. I see it keep coming up. It
was Rachel Musklow, so that's RachelMusclow. Okay, Hi, Rachel, you're there. I see you. Okay, lovely. Send us your email. We're going to send you a $25 gift card, and whether you want it in CAD or US dollars. Okay, question 2, which is for a Take Me Outside gift card. So this is $25 to the Take Me Outside store. Really beautiful ethical clothing and some other resources and wonderful things. So tomorrow is Take Me Outside Day. Which languages can you participate in for Take Me Outside Day? Which languages will you have resources for?
Yeah, and Remy, who's performing tomorrow, is bilingual, and Elage on Thursday will be able to answer your questions in English and French. So, oh, I just gave the. I think the answer is already there. I see Sydney Smith.
I think so. Sydney Smith, nice work. Yeah, it's English and French, and any really, because you can have the opportunity to use like a translate thing on the web if you want to translate the workshops as you go. But that's wicked. Okay, I'm going to do a random selection up the other end for the other gift card to the Take Me Outside store, and it's Kari Numsu. Hope I pronounced that well. Kari Numsu. That's Kari NURMSSO. So please send your email in the box, and yay, I see you, Kari. We'll be sending you a gift card too. Every time you show up here, you are dedicating time and energy to getting more kids outside for learning. We appreciate each and every one of you. And we're grateful for the opportunities to learn with you through all of these workshops. So join us for the next one, which is Francophone, totalement en français, 7 novembre. And we do have a French co-host as well, parce que je parle un petit peu français, just a little bit of French. And so we're going to have someone super pro to come in. And everyone, recordings coming to you tomorrow in your follow-up email, link to the certificate of attendance, link to sharing the shared resource page on that spreadsheet, so you can look there for any of the courses, any of the resources shared in this, and add your own to inspire other people, because I see so much knowledge in the chat here. Breaking records, we think we're like, you know, the most number of people in the world joining for these virtual things, and we are just so proud. Certification, the link won't start until tomorrow once we're finished here, just so you know, if you're on that page already. There's some behind the scenes mechanisms that need to work for it to be finished, and then we can go in. And
we're just about finished. We haven't even finished yet.
We haven't even. But Launa and Sherrelle were amazing, and I'm grateful to have them in my life and in this learning space. So thanks to you for all joining. We'll say good night. I was going to say Gaisuk Squire, and thank you so much for joining us. Take care.
Thank you, Xa'xtsa. See you soon.